Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're not in the pub, but please don't spam the comments saying bring back the pub. Although you're obviously now going to do that because we went to the pub this morning and it was closed. Don't know why it was closed, but nevertheless, we're having to shoot it in the FD studio. Let's get straight on with the questions then. And there was loads of you sending in questions about the January transfer window, so we thought we'd just discuss it. You know, we've got Nako here saying, what team needs an overhaul of new players? We've got Heeman saying, with Haaland off to Dortmund, who should United sign in January? So we're going to talk about most of the Premier League and who they need to sign in January. For anybody who wants stuff on European football, go and watch EFD. Shut your mouth. Let's start with Man City. Should we start with Man City? Because, you know, the defence.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been quite a defensive decline. They've already conceded one more goal than they did in the entirety of last year.
Okay.
And there's still 17 games to play. They've lost 5 league games, which is only one fewer than in the last 2 seasons combined. And they've only kept 7 clean sheets.
Sorry, Joe's just spilled about a pint of water on an iPad.
I thought you were laughing at Man City's defensive record.
Either or.
But equally leaky.
Equally leaky, yeah. But their attack is still fantastic. They're still averaging 2.6 goals a game, which is actually up from their 2.5 last year. But only 7 clean sheets in 21 games. And I think their problems really stem from their summer business, really, because I don't think they needed to get rid of Danilo to swap in João Cancelo for a 35 million sort of net loss on that, even though, because João Cancelo was about 58, Danilo was about 30.
58 mil and he can't get a game.
And it hasn't really worked out. I mean, he played okay in parts in some of the games over the festive period, João Cancelo, but still can't get in regularly ahead of Walker. And then with Company obviously not being replaced, Laporte getting injured in that challenge with Adam Webster of Brighton early on, which probably will turn out to be the most crucial reason of this season, despite Liverpool, sweeping all before them. I think Man City would be a hell of a lot closer with Laporte. And their midfield combinations haven't worked very well. We've seen Pep in recent weeks try and convert to a sort of double pivot and play De Bruyne or Foden actually yesterday a bit further forward, and that's helped them solidify slightly. But it's been a really difficult season for them, and it's actually going to turn into quite a difficult summer as well, I think. Otamendi's 31, Aguero's 31, David Silva's obviously retiring, Mahrez let slip that Fernandinho's probably off as well.
Yeah, that was great.
There's a hell of a lot to do. And Pep's just lost his right-hand man in Arteta, who was, in Pep's own words, virtually a manager at Man City with the amount of influence he had. So I think Man City, from having looked like they had a pretty complete squad, and I definitely thought that they had sort of 2 world-class players in every position, they now look like they've got players towards the end of their time at Man City, and players simply not in form as well. Mendy, since he come back, not half the player he was, understandably. So there's problems throughout there, and yeah, January, if they could get a centre-back in, that'd be great, and they're linked to Upamecano. They've been linked to Ben Godfrey repeatedly, but I just don't think they will, to be honest. I don't know whether even a centre-back signing at this stage can rescue this season for them. It's coming down to the cup competitions for them.
Yeah, I only see them bringing in a centre-back, and Pep's obviously said he's not going to bring in a centre-back, but that is such a clear error in the summer, not replacing Vincent Kompany, that surely the hierarchy above Pep that are making those longer-term footballing decisions are thinking we should have bought one in. We now have to go for somebody, at least in the short term, because it not only has the defence looked worse, but the displacement of Fernandinho from defensive midfield has killed the whole sort of solidity of the team. And as good as Rodri's been, and as quickly as he's adapted, he's not Fernandinho in that role. I think probably moving to that back three that we saw last night might end up being the way that Pep goes.
With Rodri dropping
towards
deeper,
the back end of this season, moving towards that back three, because the defensive options are just awful. I saw the rumours as well that Gabriel Jesus might well be off in the summer. I don't know how much truth there was to that, and as whether or not he will actually leave, but they can't afford to lose Gabriel Jesus, in my opinion, if 31-year-old Sergio Aguero is running his contract down. I think they need a centre-back. I don't think they'll get one. I think they'll finish January with no signings at all, and they'll just try and get a better centre-back in the summer. Pat?
They're almost far enough behind that they can say, like, there's no point going and overpaying in January. We can just get the right guy in the summer. I mean, they do need a centre mid as well. Like, if Rodri gets injured, then it's Fernandinho back there, and then that still leaves them with no defenders. I mean, there are a couple of areas that they do need to solve, and also they're kind of just paid the price for investing in really attacking fullbacks. Like, Mendy was a really attacking choice, but he used to be a good defender and then got repeatedly injured. But all their fullback choices now, bar Walker, are guys who just want to attack all the time. I don't know, it's just...
The decline of John Stones alongside that as well. And
he's been out as well.
Without Laporte at the back and Otamendi being so rash, you miss a really sort of physically dominant centre-back. It sounds like a small thing, but lots of their goals this season are conceded off free kicks and corners just because they don't have a centre-back who's dominant enough in the air. Eric Garcia's under 6 foot, Fernandinho's about 6 foot. And the players, I mean, it's so easy to target Man City from set pieces this year. And I just feel like throughout the squad, there's so many question marks. Leroy Sané will probably want to leave again. It's just, it's tricky.
And I don't think you'll get an Upamecano. I think Upamecano is going to see out that title effort with Leipzig. I don't think you're going to get any players out of a Leipzig. People talking about Timo Werner moving.
Why would it? Yeah.
Why would you leave midway through the season when you are banging contention to win a Bundesliga title this year if you stick with it? So yeah, I think Man City will probably end January without any signings, but need to bring in a centre back. We're going to talk about Leicester and Liverpool as the match point. Don't think they're going to do any surgery.
I think they're pretty set, aren't they?
Yeah, now they've got Minamino through the door. That's probably it for Liverpool and Leicester.
Leicester should make signings generally as a club, but they don't really need them in January. They're just so far ahead.
And I think as well, Leicester are probably identifying longer term targets that are more readily available in the summer, so they probably won't do much business. Chelsea, I think, need a couple of signings in January because they, as good as they started the season and as effective as Frank Lampard had in playing football, I think he's tried to shift system a couple of times. It hasn't quite worked potentially. And towards the back end of this season, I think some of those youngsters will get a little bit leggy, just purely because they are playing their first major season in the Premier League. And I think potentially another backup striker could come in if Giroud was to leave in January. There's obviously been rumours linking him with moves to Italy, and I think he might well leave the club. And maybe another centre-back if Kalidou Koulibaly was available and Napoli were willing to sell. Wouldn't be the worst option for me.
They're quite well stocked with centre-backs though. I mean, like left back is where I'd go if I could. I mean, there are rumours apparently that Inter want to go for Emerson and would offer, say, 25 mil. That's quite well reported. But I would probably try and keep Emerson if I could. Though I guess you could argue that between Giroud and Emerson, you could get enough money to bring in another proper left back. And that is clearly the weak area. The only question is whether they wait till the summer and go really hard for somebody like Ben Chilwell, which is the current rumour. That they and Man City might be competing for Chilwell in the summer.
The rumour at centre-back was Nathan Ake is kind of who I was hinting at. Obviously,
because they've got a £40 million
buyback clause.
I don't think he's worth that. I'd only do that if I had another buyer lined up who was going to pay more. I really don't think... Ake's fine. He's like totally fine. I don't think he's really better than Zuma. I don't think he's better than Christensen. He can cover left back technically, I guess, but he's not great there. He's fundamentally like a pretty athletic centre back. Currently playing in one of the worst defences in the league, which has actually been one of the worst defences in the league for the entire time they've been in the top flight. So I don't know, that feels a little bit dodgy as well. And they let him go in the first place. It just feels like, I don't know, do you offer twice the money that you got for him just to bring him back to the club when you originally thought he wasn't good enough? It seems like an odd one. I'd much rather...
is he a huge upgrade on Zuma? I'm not the biggest fan of Kurt Zuma, but I think there are better players out there than Nathan Ake.
He is left-sided. That's the advantage of him, right? He is left-sided. Again, not particularly big guy, though. I think he's just 6 foot, and his chiefly is that he's fast. He's fast and left-footed, so those are the advantages. But I don't know, I would 100% scout around and have a look at what left-backs might be available. There are guys like Jose Gaya, Valencia, there's Alexandro seems to always be on his way out of Juventus. Alex Grimaldo still at Benfica. There are these guys around who might be worth thinking about, or even like a Tagliafico from Ajax, who I don't think is amazing, but he'd be fine. On the other hand, if they're going to cost you 20-25 mil anyway, why not just wait till the summer and spend 50 mil for your ideal guy? Who I think is probably Chilwell for them.
So Chelsea was saying not much business will be done there. Link's still with Jadon Sancho, but that's not happening in January.
Yeah, I don't think that will happen in January. And despite their recent poor form, losses to Everton, West Ham, Bournemouth, Man City, they're still 5 points clear of 5th. And it looks like with United's issues, with Arsenal's issues, with Spurs' issues, I think they'll probably get 4th just by being default of being the least worst of those sides.
Yeah.
They've certainly shown some weaknesses in recent weeks, but then you see on their day, like they were against Spurs, they were absolutely awesome, but they've just got all the inconsistencies of a pretty young side still sort of finding their way under a new manager. And I think they're having a really impressive season. I would be quite reluctant to make massive moves this window. I think they can cope to the end of the season with Marcus Alonso and Emerson. I think 4 centre-backs at Christensen's your 4th choice. I think that's reasonably strong as well. That's fine. Reece James's emergence and Lamptey's emergence at right back means they're quite strong there as well. So I think they're pretty well set.
Yeah, let's get down to the dross then. Manchester United in 5th, 5 points off Chelsea as it stands. Had the chance to go 2 points off them last night with that game against Arsenal, which is just ridiculous given how patchy their form's been. Obviously, lost to Watford 2-0, lost to Arsenal 2-0. A pretty decent performance against Burnley away, although Burnley at Turf Moor never beat a decent team, do they? I think they've won 1 in 28 games at Turf Moor against a top 6 side, and that was against Tottenham. Obvious issue, central midfield.
Yeah.
Where do you think Manchester United should be turning for central midfielders in January?
Well, they've been linked quite a lot with Paredes of PSG, who hasn't had a lot of game time there, but was very highly thought of when he moved there rather. They've been linked with Eriksen in the past as well, but I don't think Eriksen's the type of midfielder they necessarily need. I think you want sort of a sort of more well-rounded player, and unless Eriksen gets back to his form of not even last year, it's really the first half of last year, the previous season.
I'll disagree with you slightly. I think Eriksen's exactly the sort of player.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think
he's not all you need.
We've got,
I think you need to get 2 if it was Eriksen and someone else.
One of them has to be a creative midfielder. Our midfield creativity is embarrassingly bad when Paul Pogba's not been fit, and he hasn't been fit at all. And he's obviously not going to be fit. It's injury after injury. If it's not an ankle problem, it's a foot problem, or he's got the flu. He's not going to be playing for Manchester United consistently.
So would you be happy with Eriksen, Fred and McTominay as a starting midfield 3?
I wouldn't be happy, but it would do, wouldn't it? It would be a big upgrade on what we've got now, which is Lingard, Fred and McTominay.
I mean, it's Lingard, Matic, Mata yet to contribute a goal in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think if you went all the way back to May 2018, from then on, Lingard has only scored or assisted in 1 month. And that was December 2018. Yeah. So between May and this current December, like 1 month of goal contribution. And that was, I think, 4 goals and 2 assists, which is just crazy in December. I don't know what's happened then. That was that run when he was scored against Everton and teams like that. But not good enough in the attacking midfield role, has to be doing more. And if Eriksen is available for £25 million, Manchester United could feasibly, I'm not saying we would, could feasibly finish top 4 with 2 good midfield signings in January.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Definitely possible if you were to get an Eriksen and a strong central midfielder. I don't think Emre Can would be the worst option. Pretty uninspiring, I would say, if you're a Man United fan, but not the worst option. The other players that Man United are obviously looking at, James Maddison, is just not going to happen in January. People are like kidding themselves that move could happen. He's not going to leave Leicester for anything less than 150 million in January, and United aren't going to spend that. And then Jack Grealish, a lot of people are talking about heavily as well, which I think would be a good signing for Man United, but a lot of his best work has kind of come floating out on that almost as a left winger, as an inside left winger for Villa towards the back end of the calendar year. And I don't think Villa sell him. As much as Villa need the money, the FFP regulations are biting them hard. If they sell him, they go down. They can't afford to sell Jack Grealish. With Vesely having that serious, or what appears to be a serious knee injury, Jack Grealish is their source of goals. I think he's got 11 goals, contributions at least this season, and won't sell him in January. Leicester won't sell James Maddison in January. The best you can hope is to overpay Christian Eriksen and get him in, and then hope that Emre Can just does the job for 6 months before you readdress. And even then, United then get into the issue of going, here's £300,000 a week for Eriksen. We're in Alexis Sanchez territory.
It's your depth in midfield which is just so appalling. And I mean, that game last night against Arsenal was just so flat. There wasn't a single positive I could find from that.
Need a striker as well.
Could do with a striker, but I think that's low down the list of priorities, really. I think you could
to a
definitely upgrade in left back as well. Luke Shaw is not having a good season whatsoever. And Brandon Williams has shown a lot of promise there, but you don't want to start with Brandon Williams for a 38-game Premier League
season. But at least you've got him. Like, it's not like in midfield where you're like,
we're actually got no one who's playing.
Yeah. It's not like you can say, right, okay, this kid might not quite be ready, but let's chuck him in. Like, you've got Pereira, who's like not young really, and is just
25.
I was just watching him and I was just like, I cannot believe that I used to really fear playing Man United, and I still do to some extent because of players like Rashford and Martial. But I looked at that midfield and I was like, oh my God, there just isn't a single guy there who can do anything really. There's not a guy there who's great at defending, who's good at transitions. There's certainly not a creator. Like, it's just looking at Pereira in that match, like, what are you doing playing for Man United against Arsenal away? That's insane. Like, and I just think, yeah, a midfielder who's really physically dominant and can defend. I mean, I'd be fine with Man United like waiting till the summer, I guess, and saying like, you know what, we're going to get Grealish or Maddison, and then we're going to go for like an Ndidi or a real defensive presence. Like, that'd be fine. Or we're going to sell Pogba and we're going to invest in like 3 central midfielders.
Yeah,
like, I think that would be a really sensible thing to do. But Joe's right. Like, you've got a real shot at Champions League football this year. And then it'll be so much easier to do that rebuild in the summer. So if you can get Paredes or you can get Chan now, I think that's probably a pretty good sticking plaster.
Yeah.
Or even if you could get an Isco or loan James Rodriguez or something, like just something to give you some other quality.
Cannot come out of this January with no midfield signings. Cannot. Well, because McTominay's injury has gone from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 2 months to multiple months.
And even if he comes back, he certainly doesn't fix the creativity problem.
No.
Like, you're still basically saying like, can Rashford and Martial create something out of nothing? And the problem is, like, whenever you say, oh, they've had a really good game, it tends to be when they've been given space on the counter and they can just run through. And you don't really need creativity to hit somebody like Rashford on the counter because his movement's so good, he's so strong, he's so quick. Like, he and Martial understand each other's games really well. Like, you don't really need much there. Whereas when you've got to break down a sitting defence, you're in serious trouble. I mean, last night, I looked at the lineup actually and I thought, you know, they could actually do Arsenal in this game because Arsenal are running out the we want to have all the ball lineup, and United are running out the lineup where they're like, that's fine, we're going to go over the top. But after that happened in the first couple of minutes, for the rest of the match, kind of Arsenal were like, okay, well, let's just not give them space to do that. And then it was simple. That's so troubling. And there are guys out there who are like loanable solutions. I mean, as for striker, like, yeah, sure, if you can get a striker, it would be good. And I do think there was an argument for them just throwing like untold money at Haaland to get him to go there. Like, if they just said, you know what, we're going to give you because the transfer fee is so low, for them to say we're going to give you so much money that you can overlook the fact that Dortmund or Leipzig would be a better career move.
Yeah.
Like,
at least for him, though, he's made the right call in my mind.
Yeah.
Maybe. If he goes to United at 19, he's going to be seen as this sort of attacking saviour that will solve all United's problems. I don't think you don't put Haaland in this Man United side and definitely finish 4th. Because there's so many issues in midfield.
The midfield issues are number one. Let's move on then to Tottenham Hotspur in 6th. Tottenham are a bit of a worrying patch themselves under Jose Mourinho. I saw already him being a bit prickly towards Tanguy and Ndombele, talking about, oh, he's always injured, you know, he's never fit, I can't get consistency out of him. And it feels like maybe Ndombele is going to be the guy that he targets. There's always one player. It was Martial and Pogba at United. It was Eden Hazard at Chelsea. Is Tanguy going to be that guy at Tottenham? Because he feels such a talented. But every time I watch Ndombele, he's unreal.
Yeah, he's so good.
So fantastic.
He was awesome against Norwich when he was playing in a holding role with Lo Celso and Eriksen either side. I know it was Norwich.
Yeah.
But he looks unbelievable, gliding past players with ease.
But the midfield's not a problem for Tottenham. No. Unlike Man United.
But their fitness in midfield is a problem. Because Lo Celso and Ndombele haven't really been fit to do a game. Dyer's now injured. Wanyama is now past it, needs to be sold. Winks doesn't look like he's favoured by Mourinho one bit. So
I think they need a striker in January, a backup striker in January, because Harry Kane is getting run into the ground, pulled his hammy.
Someone who can play wide as well, because when Son's missing, you're just like, what? There's nothing. They've always needed, like Mourinho's always needed that like pace and power forward who can create and also make his own, kind of make chances for himself. And without Son, they just don't have that player. Like, people like Lucas, and he's a hard-working player, but he's just not capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And the full-back zone is so bad because Mourinho. This is what we mean when we talk about like developing a squad that has an identity, right? So that a manager can come in and just use it. Because now they've got signings who make no sense. Like, they've now got like Ryan Sessegnon there, who is never going to be a left-back under Mourinho. I really, really struggle to see that unless he gets a really defensive right back and then the left back is the one who he lets get forward. Because he always has one who's reserved and one who gets forward, right? But playing Vertonghen on the left is kind of okay if you've got if you had, say, Joao Cancelo. But when it's Aurier, you're in, I don't know, you're just kind of getting nothing out of your fullbacks because they're not defensively solid, and they're also not going to give you much in attack. So I just look at that team and I think 2 fullbacks would really be a massive upgrade straight away.
Yeah, 2
and they'll start winning games.
As well, I watched Danny Ings turn Alderweireld into a pork pie the other night and just thought to myself, how much does that new contract they gave a semi-injury prone Toby Alderweireld to sign for 4 years to keep him at the club?
4 years.
I bet it was fairly hefty, and I bet Jose Mourinho had a heavy say in it. And you know, the issues remain with Tottenham in that I don't know how much money they're going to spend. Jose might want all these players, might want new fullbacks, might want a backup striker.
Another midfielder.
I can see Daniel Levy saying, not in January, there's going to be 0 movement in January. In the summer, yep, here's £50 million. And that just already feels like there's friction between Jose and players and potentially Daniel Levy, whether he's going to spend money or not. And it's just going to end a catastrophe. I'm just sure it's going to end catastrophe.
Some of the whisperings you're hearing about the players they're linked with as well are quite concerning. Matic, Fellaini, Ibrahimovic before he signed for AC Milan.
Oh God, Fellaini's in China as well, and they've capped the wage, so I do expect him to come back. And if he comes back, it will be to Jose.
But there are rumours about Soumaré as well out of Lille. I think they'll be a bit smarter than that. I think.
And they've got Lo Celso on loan. Yep. Don't know whether they're going to make that permanent. I think
to be honest, if it was 60 million and if you had to decide right now, would you guys make it permanent? I probably wouldn't.
I think it's an obligation though. I don't think they've got a choice. Right. Yeah, I think
he could decide not to go.
Although it might be if they finish in the Champions League, it's an obligation. It's something like that. I can't remember the ruling. If you know it, if you're a Tottenham fan, let us know in the comments.
And Jose could say to him, you're not going to be a first-team player for me if you stay here. And then Lo Celso might be like, right, okay, I'll go back to Betis and get my fitness back and then go to a better club, probably where I'll be appreciated.
What about Eriksen? Would you let him go in January?
100% got to get rid of him. Got to get a fee. Got to get a fee. He's one of the only... He's a very sellable asset for them. And they definitely could get 30 million for him, rather than lose him for free next summer. He's still not playing at his best. He looks like he's sort of turned up in the last few games. He's trying to get himself more in the shop window. Seemingly in the last few games, I thought he was very good against Norwich, for example. But yeah, get 25 million rather than losing for free. It's a no-brainer.
Even to a rival, if it costs you the Champions League.
I don't think he will go to a rival. Apparently, it's Inter Milan that are the favourites to get him.
If you can get him out there.
But with Kane injured as well now, you're just looking at every area of the squad being
apparently wants to leave,
being destabilised. So you're like, right, okay, well, if Kane's out, does that mean Son goes to forward? So who's on the left wing? Maybe Ryan Sessegnon, or maybe you have to move Dele Alli out of position, and then Eriksen would naturally go into the 10 space or something.
Yeah.
Then you're playing Winks all the time, or you're relying on Sissoko as a starting mid.
I can't pretend to be a Spurs finance expert, but I can't imagine with the situation of the last few years moving into a new stadium, can they really afford to lose that asset for free?
Not sure they can.
I don't know.
I think that's a really good point.
And at least that pays off Alderweireld's contract.
Yeah.
The next plugging holes there, isn't it?
7, 8, 9, just quickly. Wolves, Sheffield United, Palace. Any surgery that needs to be done there? I think Wolves might look to bring in potentially another forward.
And they need another midfielder.
Not scoring an awful lot of goals. I think they've only scored 30 this season.
Neto's played quite well in the last couple of games. Catrone's still struggling, isn't he? And
don't know did you see the Adama Traore stat yesterday?
What was it, 15?
15 dribbles completed against Watford. 15 dribbles in 90 minutes, which is just absolutely outrageous. He's been on fire this season.
They've stagnated a little bit, though. Ruben Neves is having a really down season. Ruben Neves is not having a good year, which in a way means
Moutinho's kind of flatlined as well, doesn't get any younger.
He's not going to get better. So I would also think about a midfielder. Definitely a midfielder, because they are pretty thin there.
Definitely, and they've got a tiny squad. I think they've only used 22 players this year.
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace should definitely look to bring in a striker in January, even if it's a short term.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't be totally adverse to bringing in Olivier Giroud on a 6-month deal out of Chelsea if you could get that deal done. I don't know when Giroud's contract's up though. I think it might be up in the summer. So I don't know how willing Chelsea will be to loan him. But if you could get him out for 1 or 2 million.
They were linked in the summer with Shalov, who plays for CSKA Moscow, who's a striker, who did really well in the Champions League last year. I think he got 2
already
goals
feels too
Real Madrid.
expensive for Palace.
Yeah, potentially, and quite a risk to bring in a Russian 21-year-old in halfway through a season. But yeah, they could potentially go there again.
Yeah, I think they might look to bring in a striker, given they've scored 19 goals so far this season, which is particularly ugly. Right, let's get to Arsenal then. Your boys, down in 10th.
Happy days.
pretty straightforward, really.
Yeah.
It's a centre-back, and
Centre-half?
I think they probably want a deep midfielder.
Okay.
I think that Xhaka will probably stay unless we get in another midfielder.
There was a bit of a press conference earlier or last night where Emery seemed to say that he wasn't. Yeah, my bad. Sorry, Arsenal fans. Arteta seemed to say that he'd patch things up with.
Really?
I don't know if he'll stay long term, but like it's helped that we've had this managerial change to kind of get him back into fans' good books. At the same time, Torreira's playing really, really well at the moment. He's been
finally
one
as
of
a
our best players,
DM.
isn't he? Yeah.
Shock horror.
He's really
when
good.
he's not playing as a 10, he's good.
He knows where to be suddenly. It's really odd. Yes, but I think we probably will look for another guy there, unless Ceballos comes back from injury and Arteta loves him, which I do also think is possible. I think, the people we've been linked with Rabiot. Rabiot would be amazing. I don't think he's coming out of Juventus even on loan.
No.
But I don't actually think Ceballos kind of is like a really cut price Rabiot. Like their skill set is not that different. They're guys who want to move the ball forward with dribbling. They've got good passing ranges. They can defend a lot. Ceballos just needs to be told where to be, which no one was told under Emery. So I do think that Ceballos will probably be preferred there. And then you're looking at like Guendouzi and Xhaka on the bench, which is a pretty strong bench.
Yeah. Guendouzi seems to have slipped out of Arteta's.
Yeah, but I think it's just because he doesn't
a little
know.
bit.
He's still really young, and like positionally, he's so indisciplined, or hasn't been told how to position himself in.
Plays well in chaos, doesn't he? But when he has to play in a structured system,
I think the most exciting thing about the new Arteta era is that he managed to get Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, Ozil in the same side, all pulling their weight. Aubameyang is like tracking back, helping out. Who was it last night? Kolasinac. And then Saka when he came on. Ozil ran the most on the pitch.
There is still a bit of chatter though about Aubameyang, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is a bit of chatter.
I still think he'll go.
I think he'll definitely get frustrated on the left wing because he wants to be in and around the box.
But I don't think that's true because, he's in 3 games under Arteta, he scored 2 goals, like playing off the left, and also playing off the left under Arteta has not been like playing off the left previously.
True.
Like he is
at least
still
against United last night was Kolasinac really bombing.
You can't lose him in January.
He's still getting to the box.
Cannot lose him in January.
We won't though. Like we don't need to. He's got 18 months on his contract. We'll keep him till the summer. We'll sell him in the summer. Unless somebody comes in with an obscene offer in January, and I'm not sure who needs a striker that desperately.
Palace.
Yeah, Palace. Palace or United. Then we can. I think he'll stay till the summer, but I do think he'll go then. And
we were talking about it earlier in the office. How good was David Luiz last night as well?
Yeah,
finally, like bringing the ball out so well. I mean, United gave their defence a lot of space in terms of I didn't think your press was particularly good, and Luiz just broke it with ease. But I thought it was
count as a press just running around.
Yeah, I thought it was just his best display in an Arsenal shirt so far. I thought it was awesome.
But he and Xhaka are still going to do boneheaded
Even
things
Xhaka was
because
good.
they are quite boneheaded. Like you're never going to not get them doing that. And I think if a centre back's available in January, you kind of go for it. Like I think the top 4, it's not gone, but it's pretty close to gone. Because you've got to have all those teams above you be worse than you and less lucky than you. And I don't think Arsenal aren't better than Chelsea. They might be able to be better than Man United or Spurs over the back half of the season, but they're not going to be better than Chelsea, and they're not going to be like 9 points luckier.
But you're for United at the moment? 5, 4?
We're 4 off United, but United then 5 off Chelsea.
Right.
So even if we get above United, we can still be back at Chelsea. I mean, Upamecano, again, is heavily linked. He's got 18 months on his contract as well, and there are rumours that Leipzig have an idea of who they're going to go for next, who is a youth player out of PSG. If it's 40, 50 mil, that would probably be fine, seeing as he's probably one of the guys Arsenal would go for in the summer. I don't know. Like I think they might wait till the summer and go back for some previous targets. I think they'll probably wait and maybe go for Upamecano, maybe Partey in the summer, because apparently, according to Ornstein, Partey wanted to come this summer, just gone, and the deal was all kind of sorted, and Arsenal decided not to go through with it.
Yeah, and obviously you've got Saliba to come back as well. Everton under Ancelotti, another central midfielder, obviously, and a centre back. They're going to be their high priorities, aren't they? I think last night was Holgate and Yerry Mina at centre half.
Holgate has played really well in the last month, actually.
Yeah.
But it's still 3 guys for 2 slots.
Yeah, Ancelotti's going to want one in there. I think he's definitely going to want a centre mid. He's continuing to play Sidibe as a right winger as well, which is an interesting one.
Who's their backup left back?
They've got Beignet and
Baines.
And I still think they might try and target a striker. I know that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's had a good month. I still think they'll look to bring a striker in. Moise Kean still can't start a game by all accounts, and they've scored 24 goals so far this year. So I think they might well bring in a striker if they can get a good one, but they might wait till the summer.
I read an article saying that in the summer they were very close to signing Frank Kessié. from AC Milan, and AC Milan are obviously having a pretty shocking season. So if they could go back in there and get someone of Kessié standards, I think that'd be a great sign.
January is going to be a centre back and a centre mid, I'd imagine, for them. And then some of the other teams, just quickly, Southampton. Anybody there? Danny Ings is still on fire. Could do with some help.
Yeah, I read a really interesting article in The Athletic about what Southampton could do, because I didn't realise their full-back depth was so bad. They've effectively only got Cedric Suarez, Bertrand,
and they've been horrible.
And Valerie, I think. Yeah. I don't think they've got a backup left back.
They've been horrible this season.
And they could do with a really good centre back as well. With Yoshida very much ageing out. I think Vestergaard's had a great year. Bednarek as well. So I think they could do some defensive reinforcements and then help out Danny Ings. But what a season he's having.
But they've just needed a lights-out attacking mid forever.
They needed a 10 for ages.
Yeah.
So they'll probably look to bring one of those in. But that might be a summer job as well. It might just be Hassan that will keep them up, get by, and then we'll re-identify in summer. Newcastle need some help for Joe Linton, in my opinion. They've still only scored 20 goals.
Find a way of getting him in the game. He's just not in the game.
No. Well, he started to play him, interestingly, as a front two with Andy Carroll and Joe Linton, which just
so big.
doesn't feel right, does it? And then sort of Almiron buzzing off him and just too reliant on John Joe Shelvey.
But he's needed that all along, right? Like Joe Linton, when he was playing as a forward at Hoffenheim, like he was always playing off another striker, and he looks so much better when he's got somebody there because he's creative. But they need a striker. They I don't know. Like,
I mean, credit to Steve Bruce. He's getting some results though.
Yeah, but even if he keeps them up, I would just look at it and be like, I've done this for absolutely nothing, because they need central midfielders, they need probably another winger, they need centre backs,
they're quite good at centre back,
full backs
for a club of Newcastle standards.
Sure, but they've just got so many areas to fix, man. I would just.
Brighton, they're going to be all right. I don't think they'll do too much business in January under Graham Potter. Burnley.
Nice seeing Jahanbash come to the party as well.
Burnley might well think about doing a little bit of business, maybe taking a couple players out of the Championship in that midfield area.
Yeah, they've got Goodmanson's come back from injury, and he's always quite key to them on the right-hand side. Because Ashley Westwood hasn't had a great year.
Yeah, and Ashley Barnes has tailed off quite significantly.
Yeah, and Jack Cork's.
So Wood's having a good year.
Jack Cork's been injured a lot, and Danny Drinkwater's loan move hasn't worked out at all.
Yeah.
So they could do with another centre mid as well, I would have thought.
Burnley could just dump all their money on like one central midfielder. That would like not be the worst idea.
Yeah. West Ham, obviously, David Moyes' effect in full force, so they'll probably be straight up the table, challenging Manchester United.
Boy, do they need a central midfielder.
They do need a central midfielder, yeah. And
I think
whether or not January is the right time to do it remains to be seen, because they could do with a good centre mid.
We haven't really talked much about the sort of decline of Issa Diop this year as well. It's been quite frightening, to be honest. I know he's still a young player. I'm not not like ruling him out, but like he's lost his place to Balbuena and Ogbonna, and he can't get back in.
Yeah.
And yeah, they could do with.
But Felipe Anderson's been in decline. A lot of their players have been in decline.
Yeah, maybe it's just the general malaise that was surrounding the club under Pellegrini, but. Yeah, what a win and what performance from Mark Noble.
Like pre-last night, Haller hadn't scored in 10 games, so I think that's 1 in 11, which is a bit of a worrying form. But you'd hope David Moyes. I don't think it's a particularly inspiring appointment, but probably keeps them up just like he did when he was there. You know, I think they finished 13th, Matkins was saying, but 2 games before that they were 18th, so he just about clawed them out.
I think they've got Norwich and Watford in the next 3 games as well, so they could pick up some points.
They just need a guy who is going to fix the defence and let the forwards kind of do what they want, because the forwards are fine. But God, if I could get a centre mid, a 2-way centre mid. I know. Imagine if they'd got John Jordan in the summer, they'd have just been fine.
I know. And Pablo Fornals hasn't really hit the ground in the way I think they thought he would. Villa are going to need a striker if that Vesely injury is as bad as first appears. If he has snapped his ACL, I think they'll have to bring him on, because Jonathan Codger not quite good enough, over-reliant on Jack Grealish.
Quite worried about Villa, actually.
And might need a central midfielder as well, given that McGinn's ankle injury
That's a big blow.
If McGinn is out for another 2-3 months, Vesley's out for the rest of the season, then
although I do rate Conor Hourihane, and he hasn't played that much this year. So he can come back in.
And they've got Douglas Luiz, who hasn't played a huge amount, and they've got Marvelous Nakamba and Grealish.
But only Grealish and Vesely contribute to goals.
No, I agree with that. I worry less about central midfield than I worry about
their wing players. It's like Trezeguet and El Ghazi haven't really caught a light, have they yet? So
and they're under the cosh with FFP as well, so they might not be able to spend anything in January really, and might have to sell some assets. So Aston Villa might actually be in a little bit of trouble.
This might be a loan market situation for them. They might just have to gamble. So, for instance, Arsenal are recalling Eddie Nketiah from Leeds. He probably is going to and should go back to the Championship. But if you have absolutely no money, you might just have to gamble. You might have to go to a City or a United or an Arsenal or a Chelsea and just say
What have you got?
Do you have anything?
Like, Giroud.
Please give us somebody. Like,
go.
we will give Reece Nelson like every game for the rest of the season.
Sorry, yeah, they could go for a player like Jared Bowen at Hull City. He's on track to contribute over 20 league goals for I think the second or third season in a row. He can play on the wing or as a striker, be a good option for them.
They're going to gouge you. They're going to ask for money.
Yeah, it'll be a big January.
It's the same as like they're being linked with Mitrovic. You're just going to get hammered if you try and get Mitrovic out in January from one of those sort of clubs. Okay, Bournemouth again. I think probably need a striker. They've scored 20 goals this season. Bournemouth. I don't think. In fact, I looked at before this. Callum Wilson hasn't scored since September. Desperately need a goal scorer in that team.
They've really missed Brooks, haven't they?
So badly. His creativity has just been shot to pieces. They've been buckled by injuries in every area.
And everyone thought we were idiots for saying Ryan Fraser wasn't a good signing for Arsenal, but he is out of
contract in the summer though, isn't it?
True.
They just might need to change manager though. Like genuinely, like I know they're not gonna, but it just like I don't actually think their attacking players are bad. I think they're fine. Like I understand what you're saying. Like Wilson's on this bad run of form, but I think it's just the whole team like looks bad. And yeah, injuries are a factor, but Lewis Cook has come back, and you still look at their attack and you still think, okay, like Wilson, Fraser, Stanislas, King, like there are players here who are useful. But they've just refused to sort the defence out for years and years, and now they're in a position where they might need to suddenly sort out the defence plus a bunch of other positions all at the same time, and they might get relegated.
Yeah, well, they've got some massive games coming up. I think they play Watford and Norwich in the Premier League next, which are the two teams below them.
And I think Watford will beat them.
They won 10 of 38 in 2019.
And Watford are now flying under Pearson. So Watford will probably get a result. They also
Your mate Ismaila Sarr doing well?
They might also bring a striker in January.
Watford.
Yeah,
they probably need one.
Struggling for goals. I feel and Norwich I just think are going to go down. Norwich's defence is just so bad, and if they lose Ben Godfrey in January, which they might well do, they can't afford to do.
I do feel sorry for Norwich though, because I enjoy watching them play. And
riddled with injuries.
They have been pretty unfortunate at centre back. Like they had to play Amadou, who's a defensive midfielder, at centre back for the whole season, pretty much.
Yeah. I don't think they'll sell Godfrey in January. I just think they'll wait till the summer. Like there's no loss to waiting till the summer. Like if you're going to get relegated with him, you might as well get relegated with him and then still sell him. You know, like, there's no real need to let him go.
You get more money.
Do you think so?
In January,
you probably get a little bit more, I guess. But then you've got parachute payments coming in. If you think you're going to get relegated anyway, like who gives a shit about 5 mil? Like you're going to have so much cash that
they've got quite a good payday coming up because they could sell Canwell, Buendia, Godfrey for a combined probably 100 million.
Aaron's, Lewis.
Yeah, Aaron's, Lewis. Like there's a lot of assets in there.
But it's just not.
You don't want to sell them all in the same summer.
Loads of good players. Man.
Injuries have kind of hit them pretty hard, haven't they?
Yeah.
And
I like Daniel Farke as well.
Defensively, conceded 41 goals this season.
It's weird. I think Norwich are going to go down, but I think like half of their first 11 will like stay in the Premier League. Like, in the long term.
I'm sure someone will pick up Pookie.
Cantwell and Buendia are 100% staying in the Premier League. Like,
definitely.
They're both so good.
Definitely. Anyway, that's pretty much the entire Premier League wrapped up as to what each club needs to do in January. I guess head over to Euro Football Daily and watch Continental Club, where we'll do a similar sort of thing for some of the European top dogs. But anyway, let's move on to quickfire questions. Okay, the first quickfire question was sent in by Joseph K, who says, who is PFA Player of the Year favourite heading into the second half of the season?
De Bruyne.
Yeah,
I don't think you can really argue with that, to be honest. I think he's been the standout player.
I think you could argue Virgil van Dijk pretty strongly with that Liverpool team. If they go unbeaten in the Premier League, he's captained them.
But I think there's a general feeling that their defence has not been as good this year as it was last year. I'd say that Trent's case is probably stronger right now. Like to me, Trent and Mane would probably be the guys that people would be looking at from Liverpool. But it'd be kind of weird if City won the league last season and Van Dijk won it, and then City finished miles behind Liverpool this season and De Bruyne wins it. But he's definitely got a shot. And then Abraham,
Vardy,
I was just thinking
Aubameyang, like all those guys who are going to be top scorers are probably in the conversation.
I think Vardy could be in with a really strong shout, especially as he's so far clear. Was he 4 goals clear of the next best? Yeah,
he's got like
17.
And he's got a bunch of assists as well.
Yeah, so I think
awesome.
The worry for Liverpool will be, not worry, but I think the reason Liverpool won't necessarily have a winner this year is because everybody's been so good and it's hard to separate them, whereas like KDB is so clearly City's best player.
Yeah.
And Vardy is so clearly Leicester's like main man that it might be more obvious just to give it to one of them than randomly select one of Liverpool's 11 unbelievable players. The next one, Leet Prince. What are your VAR resolutions for 2020? Doogie, you hate VAR chat.
I hate VAR chat, yeah.
You love VAR.
I don't love VAR.
You're big VAR proponent.
VAR hater.
I'm probably the biggest fan of VAR in the office, but I don't think I love VAR. I think generally people are confusing their grievances with the offside law, with their anger with VAR, and Joe Tomlinson is one of them, in my mind. I think the offside law could definitely be changed, but VAR is not getting, it's not, the technology needs to be improved, but it's doing its job. It's the offside law which is wrong, and I don't see how it's that much clearer. People are loving VAR when it gets it right by a yard, but they're hating it when it gets it right by a centimetre. For me, you either hate the technology or not. And you can't like it in some cases and not like it in others.
I liked it once.
Sorry?
I haven't liked it once.
Fair, okay. Well, you've stuck with your guns then. But, people are saying change the offside law so there's clear daylight between the attacker and the defender. That's when you'll be given offside. I think that's only going to create more debate. What is clear daylight? That is going to come down to centimetres as well.
Yeah.
If it comes down to any part of your body needs to be onside, it's going to come down to millimetres again. It's going to be someone's heel onside. I just don't think there's an easy answer to this. And yes, there's going to be tight calls in football because the technology is there now. But people just need to get on with it. It's going to be there till the end of the year. And if they need to change the offside law, they change the offside law. But I don't think VAR is the problem.
I think the genie's out of the bottle now with VAR as well.
It's not going to go back in.
You can't put it back in. I just think that the Premier League has got it so horribly wrong in every area of VAR with implementation. I think technology in football has to happen, and the quicker and better it works for fans in the stadium is the most important thing, because at the moment it's crippling. If you've been in any stadium in the Premier League this season and had to watch a VAR incident, it is embarrassing. Embarrassing to sit there and you're just 3 minutes gone by, what's going on? I have no clue. It just says VAR decision pending. Sometimes it says offside, sometimes it just says decision pending.
There's a lack of common sense as well, because the referee doesn't even know what's being reviewed.
Any danger of that ref going to the side monitor?
There's a VAR review going on, the players are confused about what's going on, the fans are confused about what's going on. Why are they not using the pitch side monitor?
The re-refereeing from Stockley Park has to change. That's my resolution. My resolution should be that the Stockley Park, their only job is to say to the referee, we think it's worth looking at, can you have a look? Yeah. The referee goes to the touchline monitor, referees his own decision rather than somebody else re-reffing it, and then makes a call. With offsides, the law has to change, has to happen at the end of the season. There's no point even discussing it now. But you could change the side monitor implementation tomorrow, and it would save 3 minutes every single time, and the referee would be the one that's held accountable, not some invisible figure in Stockley Park. It's just not good enough. And the whole communication, I think, should be changed. I think you should be able to hear what's being said.
You posted that video from
the
A-League.
Australian thing.
So basically like a combination of that and like the way that rugby does it, where like you actually have an idea of what they're talking about and what's going on.
But for goodness sake, just tell them to go and look at the side monitors. The offside rule, I don't really know what you do. I don't think there's an actual winner.
It's not clear, is it?
Until technology is so accurate that it gets it perfectly right.
But would you be, okay, so this is what I sometimes disagree with. If the technology was right and the frame rates were great and etc., and people were still being called offside by an inch or a millimetre or whatever, would you ever complain? Because some people are saying that in itself is ruining football.
No, I
don't understand. Because if you're offside, you're offside.
I'll tell you the only way that people will stop complaining is when offsides are as quick and as clear as goal line technology to a watch. Offside, yes, no.
Yeah.
That is the line as to people can't moan then. When the referee can go, he's offside.
Don't you see all those photos on Twitter of all those tight calls and everyone's like, RIP football, and you're like, no, it's not. They're just right calls.
And also, you don't really have to watch that. Like, I mean, the stuff that makes me more annoyed in football is like when I'm trying to watch the game and then I get a highlight of just a manager like in slow motion on the sideline just going like this. And they just watch this for like 20 seconds. They go back to the game and it's fucking in the middle of the match. And I'm just like, why am I watching this? Like, that kind of thing me off more. Like, that sort of thing, like, if it didn't delay the game very much, people wouldn't mind nearly as much. Like, but as it is, yeah, it's waiting for this delay. And then in the meantime, seeing a blurred ball leave a blurred foot with
heavier
two guys
pixels,
who are blurred, and then lines coming down from an area that you think might be their armpit, which feels like bullshit. Because also quite hard to score with your armpit without getting called as a handball, I reckon. So just stuff like that is really difficult. But I think at the end of the season, they're going to need to have a big review of it and maybe work out. So in a way, it's been good to have like a whole season, to have a whole season of examples of You know, so
failure.
before they were like, what if this went wrong? What if this went wrong? Nah, it'll be fine. Whereas at the end of the season, they'll be like, well, let's have a look at this situation. What happens if we change the rule and this were to happen? Like, I think it's quite good to have like a really big set of data about like what's happening.
How hard can it be to have better technology than this? Surely this is not the peak of technology.
It is weird, isn't it? It seems like
feels
they've rushed the
so,
technology.
Like, if they are able to perfectly map a ball crossing a single line, why are they not able to map a body? But
that's easy because there's no
because
you can have a camera down from the
goal line,
like from the goal line, and so then as a result you've got like a perfect kind of bird's eye view of the ball crossing line. Like the ball has to cross the line from that angle, whereas like running along the pitch, it's so difficult because there are so many elements in play. So it's not just the moment that like you've got to get where the player is in relation to another player at the moment that a ball leaves a foot, which in itself is difficult to pinpoint.
Yeah.
So you need like such a high frame rate to capture that, and you're still going to be making a judgment call. But I do think there's an argument there for saying, well, like if it's not clear or obvious, then like give the benefit to the on-field decision, which is kind of the rule, but kind of
because
not.
the wording level has now gone out the window, hasn't it? Like that's just like doesn't exist anymore. You can't be level, basically. It's a physical impossibility. If you're being offside by 1 millimetre, you're no longer level. Right. Either way, we don't really know the decisions on VAR, so let us know what your thoughts are. It's a total show, in my opinion. Personal question to finish up then. What are your ambitions for 2020? That was sent in by Will PBH. FD, all within your personal lives. Dukes?
I didn't really. I had a resolution.
Well, yeah, let's just do New Year's resolutions. What's yours?
My New Year resolution, without meaning to sound like a massive lad, but last year I smashed my head open when I was really drunk. So I just don't want to get in that state again, is my New Year's resolution. So just to look after my body.
So that's it. It's not like to drink less or whatever. It's just like
no, it's not. It's
just
to drink in
It's
to drink in moderation.
Okay.
Is it
That's
actually?
Yeah. Not as in I'll still have a good time. I'm just not gonna smash my head into a tree.
Okay, great New Year's
that is a
resolution
good
from
New Year's
Doogie.
resolution.
Don't get so faced that you smash your face open.
Everyone's still learning, you know.
Pato, any New Year's resolutions?
I don't really do them, but like I'll probably try and lose some more weight. I don't know, man. Like,
you gonna take anything up?
Well, I kind of took guitar up again last year, but I haven't really had a lot of time to practice over Christmas, so I'll carry on with that. And I'd like to get to a certain level in French, but you know,
fluent. You're basically fluent.
Pretty much. I can't. No, as in like that is the level I want to get to, not as in like that. I can read and I can speak, but like I still find comprehension quite difficult. And like, yeah, I'd like at the end of this year to be conversationally fluent.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have one.
Come on, yeah, you do. Well, neither do we, but we've just come up with them.
Is there anyone you've done some interviews with players? Is there anyone you've really got your eye on for this year?
Don't give us a football one.
No, I don't really have one of those.
Do you want to interview another dog on TV?
Just trying to fill some dead space in your resolution, man.
Make a marked physical improvement. There you go.
A marked physical improvement.
How about that?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Does that do not mean just get fitter?
Sure. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, get fitter. Because I actually can't run 100 yards without having an asthma attack at the moment.
That's not really your fault. That's not really a fitness issue if you've got asthma.
Yeah, but you can have levels of asthma. My level of asthma is pathetic.
So yours is get fitter.
And eat
you've got
less
like type 2 asthma.
I'm going to try and eat less Rennies this year.
Okay.
2020.
That's so specific.
No, because that's a dietary thing. Right?
I'm on the Rennies 24/7. So
right.
I'm going to try
just
and
acid
hold
reflux
off.
or something?
Yeah,
is
I think I've just basically got to the stage now where I'm any sort of gurgle, I'm just like, no, I'm ready now.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, so I'm probably going through like a pack a week at the moment, so I think I'll try and pull back on those.
God, can't be great for your stomach.
Anyway, that's the end of Sunday Vice for another week. We will be back in the pub next week if they finally open their doors. Fingers crossed. If you've got any questions, make sure you submit it on Twitter. That usually happens midweek, so keep your eyes peeled and follow us on these handles. On EFD Dukes, what should people watch?
Well, we've had loads of good listicles on both channels over the sort of Christmas period. Pat did his team of the year. I think it was a team of the decade as well. Yeah. Go check out Friday's Continental Club as well. Joe's mentioned it a few times. And yeah, subscribe to both channels.
Pat, any podcasts?
No.
No podcasts.
Next week?
Yeah, we should be back next week.
All right.
Bye.